want to thank you for joining us here on Facebook and KKTV.com this afternoon. I'm Lauren Watson, your digital anchor here at KKTV 11 News. And with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, we wanted to take a closer look at some topics related to mental health. And I'm here today with Jen Shin. Now, he's a mental health advocate and the creator of the Pensive app. And Jen, let's maybe talk a little bit first about how you look at mental health.
Yeah. Hi, Lauren. Thanks so much for having me. And hello, everybody. I'm really excited to get to talk about mental health in just a very, friendly, familiar way today. And yeah, I think it's important that, we kind of step back and find easy ways to talk about mental health. And I think one of the easiest ways or simplest ways to talk about it is to ground it in this definition of your ability to be present, right? And there are a lot of things that pull us away from our presence, whether we think about it in terms of the distractions in our pockets or greater life circumstances. But it's when we get overwhelmed by those that we can feel like we lose control of our present moment, and our mental health will start to take a hit for it. Feeling fatigued, overwhelmed, like I had said before, and sometimes even paralyzed, right? So yeah, in its simplest form, your mental health is your ability to be present.
Awesome. Now, you kind of just touched on it a little bit, talking a little bit about fatigue and tiredness. We focus a lot on physical health, but why is it, just as important or as equally important as your physical health to take a look at your mental health?
Yeah, that's a great question. We think about physical health as something that can be a great reset and something that can be very grounding, and it has a spillover effect into your mental health. It's important to exercise your mental health because when you don't have good control over your mental health, it will start to affect how you show up in different contexts. There's a great study out there that I love that was made famous by the documentary Mission Joy. And they did a study on the effects of meditation and exercising mindfulness versus a group of, just a control group that didn't make a habit of that. And they found out that when they tried to kind of induce pain on these subjects, they were reading the brain waves and scans, and they noticed that people would anticipate pain and then ruminate on pain afterwards, overall feeling pain much greater across a a timeline than people who practice mindfulness. They can just stay present in the moment and switch those contexts really cleanly. So yeah, practicing mental health and being able to control your presence of mind really shows up a lot in life.
And, on that point a little bit, how can people strengthen their mental health and make sure that they have a strong mental health?
Yeah, there are really simple ways to just kind of ground yourself. Yeah, it's a word that we use a lot these days called mindfulness. But there are very real mindfulness techniques that you can use to ground yourself in the present moment and just kind of fortify your mental health.
So, in just talking to you for the past few minutes, I can tell, I'm sure our audience can tell, that you have a passion for mental health. Why is that?
Yeah, mental health has become very personal for me, and that's because I believe my calling in life, for those of you that believe in those, is to help prevent suicides. And working along the front lines of that for a while, I've just kind of noticed a couple of patterns, and those patterns being that when people feel safe to explore uncertainty in their identity, and they are resilient. Everybody truly has a resilience to just be curious about the tension in their life. Um, and in that space, kind of backtracking, I started to notice these patterns in mental health. And that is, how can people find that space to be able to explore their uncertainty in their identity, to be curious about the tension in their life? And it takes strong and positive mental health to be able to get there with a resilient mindset, with an abundant mindset. So, yeah, that is how mental health has become really personal for me.
Now, I know that you had a personal experience that also helped to kind of spur this interest and your research in mental health. If you're comfortable, would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So um, it was on that kind of suicide, or what brought me into suicide prevention was when I was 16 years old, I had my very first suicide prevention kind of scenario. My best friend called me in a panic saying that she had a friend on the line that was threatening to take their life. Um, and she somehow got this person to agree to speak with me under the conditions that I didn't get to know who I was speaking with, and they weren't going to say anything on that phone call. So that night I spoke 45 minutes into the phone, and I still to this day vividly remember two things. The first is that I understood the circumstances. I understood I could say the wrong thing and what that could lead to. And the second thing was that I felt an eerie sense of peace. I felt as though I was supposed to be right there on that call, supporting this person. And while this person and I don't keep in touch today, I did eventually get to meet them. And I found out that, or I can report that today she's a mother of two, has a master's degree, and her story continues. I can't say that I've won them all, but that was the very first time I ever kind of felt called towards this endeavor, this mission, if you will. And yeah, I'm really happy to get to serve it by just trying to make mental health language a bit more accessible, a bit more tangible for everybody.
That's amazing. Now, I guess going back to some of those, May's Mental Health Awareness Month, like I said, we wanted to kind of give our audience some more insight into some of these topics. Um, what are some of the ways that you've seen that we can process our mental health?
Yeah, great question. We can do that with our friends, and that's one thing that I always want to advocate for is the power of community and friendships, positive relationships. I encourage everyone at some point this month, right during Mental Health Awareness Month, to check in with a friend and ask them, "Hey, what's been going well?" Start there, right? What are you grateful for, and who's been helping you, and who are you grateful for? And then also check in on what's been making it hard for you to be present lately. That way, you can kind of let them paint a big picture. You can present that door to them if they want to take it and share, or respectfully and politely decline if they want to, right? But that's a way that you can kind of check in without just asking them or asking a friend like, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Right? That can be very daunting and unhelpful. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, I know I mentioned off the top, you're not only a mental health advocate, you're also the creator of an app called Pensive. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what that app is and where people can find it?
Yeah, well, it's these conversations around mental health can be really challenging if you're not trained in it or if you haven't been there. Sometimes it's hard to share and even receive, admittedly. And so that's where we always thought, can technology help us share genuinely and authentically, just to keep each other in the loop of how we've been, right? So that's what Pensive is really about. It's about being able to share honestly. You don't need to share with anybody, but should you choose to, you can only share what you create and your assets with people in your contacts, in your phone. They can't see anyone who receives your messages other than you. So we try to make it very private so that you can be vulnerable and you can be authentic without being attacked by the internet trolls, right? And yeah, you can find it on the app stores, whichever store you prefer. Um, and yeah, we hope that it serves you well and it makes it just a little bit easier for you to get to check in with yourself and reflect on how you've been.
Awesome. Well, Jen, those are all of the prepared questions I had for you for this first little chat of ours. Is there anything I didn't think to ask related to what we've talked about that you think is important for our viewers at home to know?
Yeah, no, I think this is such a good kickoff and such a good thing that we're getting to encourage people with this month. I'm just on a mission to make it the most honest mental health month that everybody dares to have this year, or so far. So yeah, thanks so much for letting me share, and I look forward to getting to share more tips.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Jen, for taking the time out of your afternoon to talk with me. And thank you to those of you tuning in on kktv.com and our Facebook page. Have a good afternoon.